Who wants to lead today?
I will lead today. Okay.
Thanks, Tamika.
You're welcome. All right. Good afternoon, ladies. Let's get started. First, we need to review our norms. So, Misty, do you mind just kind of reviewing our first grade norms for our collaboration, please?
On time, which we are. We know the objectives. Keep it on track. Timekeeper. I'll be timekeeper today. Delegate responsibilities. High expectations. And bring resources.
Okay, awesome. So Misty's timekeeper, and Pam, you're going to be the writer?
Yes.
The recorder? Thank you.
So, Mr. Berkey, do you have any successes to share with us?
I do, actually. Overall, the classes did real well on interpreting linear piecewise graphs. Fourth hour, in particular, had an 89% across the board total. We had several, looks like about 8 or 9 kids that got them all.
Okay.
100%. We did have Tatiana struggled with that. Gijatea struggled with that. And then Kelsey and Lysandra.
Okay, guys, so we talked about the, like our students, how well they did and who didn't do as well. Let's talk about like the CFA. So do you think that our assessment that we came up with at collaboration, was it a good assessment? Because I know it had the multiple things. It had subtraction and it had addition and it had the problems going vertical and horizontal. Like, do you think that was a good assessment, or like it wasn't a good assessment? Should we try again, you know, when we reteach it, to give another one, or do the same assessment again?
I noticed that a lot of mine missed, the ones that were missed, most of them happened in the vertical
Me too.
format.
The vertical format.
It's easier with them to add and take away going from horizontally. So maybe more practice in that way. And then,
Through the teaching, did they have any kind of strategy that they were expected to do? Like when they saw a problem horizontally, are they expected to then put it in vertical form, or is that something that...
No, and that was one of the things that I focused on, because I thought that maybe on the STAR test or some of those that they used a lot of horizontal. We talked about number sentences last week.
Right.
And so I pointed out to them after we did the problem, you know, okay, let's put this into a number sentence. So they did do better with the horizontal in my class, but then they did the vertical.
The vertical.
Whatever, it just kind of threw them off.
It does. It throws them off.
So we've looked at our data, and for the most part, they did great on this CFA. But what we want to do is look at those kids that did not do well and see what we can come up with to reteach them so that we can reassess them and hopefully get them to understand this topic better. So, Cynthia, you had about how many that didn't reach mastery?
Out of all the classes, or?
Yeah, out of all, total.
Out of all 4 sections, I had probably 20 that didn't reach mastery. Some of them were pretty close.
Pretty close, like question off. Okay.
Right.
And Mr. Berkey, how many did you have?
Between 15 and 20.
Okay. And Drew?
Roughly about the same.
Roughly about the same. So we're about the same there. So we need a strategy for reteaching it, because we know that, you know, reteaching doesn't mean louder. So we have to find a different way to teach it. I still believe that the Chromebooks are a great way to go. There's a lot of information there that they can look at, that, you know, the NCTM illustrations is a good way. So we could spend that day, and by using the Chromebooks, of course, it's also very easy to do the enrichment for the students that did get it, because while these are remediating on this side, these over here can be practicing, you know, new skills or activities. So does anybody have a good enrichment activity that they could work on? Is there any specific vocabulary that they're going to need before we teach them how to do this?
horizontal and vertical transformation.
Right.
What a transformation is.
Simply vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
That too.
Vertical, horizontal, yes, because we still struggle with that.
Still struggle
Yes.
with function notation too, so
Yeah.
we're going to have to revisit that and refresh their memories.
So this is our prior knowledge?
Absolute values
Yeah.
are.
So this is our prior knowledge section. They need to know, they have to, or when we're standing up there talking about them, they're not going to know what we were saying they were doing. Because we went to that pre-AP, we went to the AP for mathematics last summer. There's so many words that they're using to show these that, we've got a stretch, a shift, a expansion, so we've got to get all of these words in there, or at least decide as a department what word we're particularly going to use. Because while it's not that, for us, this is basically all they do with them, but when they get to Algebra 2, they're going to talk about these a lot more, and they need to know the correct vocabulary for that.
We could do vertical, horizontal, and function notation, address that in our bell ringer.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Try to assess their background knowledge as a part of our bell ringer.
Yeah, on that day one, we could definitely do that, and then we could talk about those that they.
And then make sure as we're teaching it that we use that vocabulary and that we bridge the mathematical vocabulary to the more casual register to try to help them make those connections. So that those words can become part of their vocabulary.
Okay.
And then do we want to go ahead and
I'd say definitely use shift because
Yeah.
that's pretty much
That's pretty
the
much-
language that this is talking about. Stretch is a little different. It's like if we take 2 times X or something
Okay.
like that.
on the standards for the item specs, do they use those words? Because we want to make sure we use the
That's true.
language.
Well,
Make sure we use the language
Mr. Berkey
that
has those
matches.
item specs.
Couldn't find it before, but I'll see if I can find it this
Okay.
time.
Make it up.
While he's looking that up, do the students at this point in time, they understand the basic understanding about a linear function, a linear graph, or is this the beginning of
Well, they
that
haven't
lesson?
graphed yet.
They have not graphed yet.
They have
Not
not
this
graphed,
year.
not this year. They've done it
Should
in the
have
middle
prior
school.
knowledge of
Okay.
it.
But they haven't done it yet this year. That's our next unit. And I think they put it there on purpose, Mr. Jones, so that they didn't try to do what they already know,
Okay.
that they're just looking at how this changes by adding numbers or,
That makes sense.
so.
The item specs, the release items here are pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot of words as far as shifting, positive, negative, anything like that. So, but that is the thing I remember from this is, do we have kids that are going to call this a positive shift, a negative shift, and we have to make sure that they get those
Words
right,
down.
up, down,
Yeah.
positive, negative. All.
So what I'm going to need is, I'm going to need one of you to develop this CFA and distribute it.
I'll do that.
Okay? If you could get it electronically sent to us, then we can all
We want to do
preview
the
it.
CFA on day 3. We want to do, say, day 1, we want to do using our technology, using our resources.
That's great.
Yeah, that's how I would introduce it.
And so maybe for our next assessment, we could break it up, like not do the mix, maybe have them do vertical, just all vertical, and all horizontal. Maybe because I think with my group, I don't think I'm going to have to reteach it the whole week. Maybe just like first, when I first start my math block, grab a few while they're working on independent work, and then maybe just do like a separate assessment. So using our same one, but maybe like cutting it in half. Okay, here's this way, here's that way, and I think that may show some success with that. So.
Our Title I math tutors.
Right, and our
Yes.
Title I, when I come in, I'll pull a few of them.
Okay.
And go over it with them.
That's perfect.
And Mrs. McDonald will work with some of them
Okay,
from each room, I'm sure, so.
yeah.
So looking at the released items and the item specs, then, I mean.
It does
What
not-
would you say their depth of knowledge, depth of knowledge too?
Yeah. So because this is new to Algebra 1, they're not pushing it real hard. They just want us to introduce it so that they have this understanding when they go to.
So I'm making the CFA questions, so make sure that they're kind of aligned with theirs. This is the only question that they're talking about. So
It's the only example that
that's the only example they have on it.
That's from the state, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the released items.
But also from
Okay.
our interim assessment, we
Right.
need that as well.
So if we could look at our interim assessment and then see what they have. Oh, look, they also have the ones that,
Okay.
they also have the ones to where they have to match, they give them a graph, tell them how it changed, and they have to match that graph
To the equation.
to the equation. So we need to make sure that we go both ways
Yep.
there and not just one way to get that in there. So, and that'll be good. And it looks like from the state departments and from the
LPSs.
from LPSs that we're going to stay right around a depth of knowledge too.
Okay.
So we don't want to make it too difficult. It's a new topic for them, a new introduction. So
Right.
When we get to it though, and we are enrichment, we could combine them and do vertical and horizontal at the same time for some of those kids and get.
Yeah, for some of
Maybe
those.
go ahead with some of our kids and introduce dilations.
So
Yep.
how many questions should we look at the CFA book?
He's
About
asking
5?
to predict.
Five-ish?
about 5. I wouldn't go more than 5 because we're just trying to get this topic down.
Yeah.
So.
Did you like on the CFA that they were able to use the manipulatives? Do you think that helped? Did you
Yes.
see them using more of the number line or more of the manipulatives?
I saw like half of them used the cubes, the link cubes. They like to count them out, but a lot of them did use the number line too. I would see them, counting on or counting back.
Stronger students use the number.
Number line, that's true.
Right.
And then the.
That's what I was gonna
Yep,
say.
that's true. Mhm.
So when we start this on our day 1, when we're using technology, so first of all, we're going to have to teach them how to get an equation into their graphing calculator or into
Graph sketch.
Graph Sketch, either way. So we're going to spend a little time there at the beginning doing that. I see, because it's something new for them and because it's technology, it's not pencil and paper, that they're going to be pretty actively engaged.